So if you read the caption, you know this video is about how I escaped the hospital, why I escaped the hospital, and everything in between in regards to that. So this video is going to have a lot of reasons, a lot of lessons, but the main lesson being the mind, body, spirit / soul connection. And I feel like not only is that not talked about in Western medicine, but it's just not talked about enough in the United States. And especially as it relates to Black women and women of color, but I'm going to center Black women in this. It's something that we always have to keep in mind of because of the history of the women who came before us, the generational traumas that came before us, and how epigenetics work. Okay, keep that in mind when I'm telling you this story. So throughout my entire life, I've been told every time that I express my emotions, anytime that I make it a point to do something heart-led, emotion-led, I'm feeling it. If it does not benefit or if it makes other people uncomfortable who have gotten very comfortable with blocking out their feelings, which if you're blocking out your emotions, you cannot receive. If you're blocking, you cannot receive. And I'm gonna let that be that for now. But yeah, I've always been told that I'm just too sensitive. Whole time, I'm just too sensitive for the people who I'm around who have dedicated themselves to making themselves similar to robots, to making themselves blocked off in ways that I refuse to, in ways that for my soul mission, I cannot do. And if I do, I would be out of alignment with what I came down here to do, right? So I know in this world, I'm meant to be very vulnerable. I'm meant to be vulnerable in a way where it is looked at as a strength. It is protected, but at the same time, I honor it. And it's definitely a balance thing. And the thing is, in regards to the rest of the world, and especially within my family, it's more so of you're on this side or that side and there's no in between. And right now I'm working towards, and I have been working towards for a long time, finding that middle ground. Right? So, like I said, oh, you're too sensitive, you need to toughen up and all this other shit, right? Now, I've been hearing this since I was a child. And of course, you know, when you hear that, you do think, well, damn, what's wrong with me? They're saying this as if there's something wrong with me. Damn, I do need to fix it. And then for someone like me who is a highly sensitive person, it can make you sick. That's just what it is. And it has made me sick on more than one occasion, physically sick. This is where we talk about the mind, body, spirit connection. A lot of people think that their mental and emotional state whenever they are physically sick is just a byproduct of however they're feeling physically. Whole time, why do we never talk about how you feel mentally and emotionally can create the byproduct of physical ailments? No one ever talks about that, but it happens literally all the time. So you're telling me that the number one cause for many autoimmune disorders is stress, but yet we don't talk about the mind, body, spirit connection, and we don't talk about healing in a way where we first put into perspective how this person has been feeling, how this person has been regulating their emotions or lack thereof, what type of stressors this person is going through. The first time that I ever physically healed myself from a physical illness that involved ulcers, that involved acid reflux, chronic acid reflux, that almost turned into Barrett's esophagus. The first time I ever healed myself from a lot of fucked up shit and some heart palpitations, some tachycardia, bradycardia, depending on the goddamn day. The way that I was able to heal that was through regulating my nervous system. First, regulating my nervous system. Once my nervous system knew that it was safe to heal my body healed from shit that it shouldn't have while simply being in the comfort of my room. Now, I'm gonna say this because I'm not gonna get sued. Definitely keep up with your doctors and stuff like that. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't, because I really wanted to believe in myself, and I decided to take that chance. I know a lot of people who take that chance, especially when they hit rock bottom in regards to going to doctors for certain ailments and them just being turned away, and especially in regards to being a Black woman and having your pain and your symptoms disregarded, having the way that you feel be disregarded, having certain tests not even be done on you because a simple lack of care. right? That will drive you to find other holistic methods, and that's what I did. So that's how I healed the first time. Now, the second time, everything hit me like a cliff. I mean, like a truck. My dog that I had for 20 years died. I'm 24, so that's like losing a family member. I was at a job where they were consistently spiritually attacking me, in a job field where you are already having high amounts of stress. I'm an RBT, so I work with children on the spectrum, and a lot of times to try to get me to quit, they would put me with children who were damn near almost my size and were so strong. And doing that every day on a daily basis with little to no instruction or help, even if you don't have physical symptoms of anxiety and stress, even though you're keeping it all together, which Black women have been very good at doing, even when they are struggling themselves, that will put a lot of stress on your body, and that stress unfortunately builds up. So in regards to everything that I was dealing with and how I was feeling in regards to my family, I never really talked to nobody. I don't talk to my family about anything, because whenever I did as a child, I was told I was too sensitive and I needed to toughen up. And now that I don't say anything, it's, oh, you never come talk to us. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know a lot of people deal with that in regards to their families. It's at least people like me. So a lot of what I was dealing with and how I was feeling, I just didn't talk to him about it. Of course, like I spoke to myself. I would journal it out, but it did get to a point where I was so deep in a depression where I stopped taking care of myself. I mean, it was like boom, 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 one thing after another, and my body literally gave out. I don't remember much about the day that I had 6 seizures and flatlined for more than 25 minutes. I don't remember what happened. All I remember is waking up in the hospital and being told that, you know, basically this is what happened. We did this type of test, that type of test. Everything came back clear and everything else. And in my spirit, I knew why I had those seizures. I don't give a fuck what the doctors was telling me, because they really couldn't tell me shit. They didn't know what the fuck was going on with me. Okay? So you can't tell me shit and expect me to listen. My parents put more trust into the doctors than they did me. Which is crazy, because they literally watched me go through my first battle with chronic illness and autoimmune disease. And one day I just got better. They had no idea. They didn't ask any questions. If they did ask questions, I would have told them, oh, I healed myself. I took the time to regulate my nervous system and I healed myself. I healed myself by reading books. Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural, helped me out a whole lot. And I keep that shit by me too, just in case I need a reminder. Let me calm down, because I'm getting really but in that moment, I knew I had a choice to make. I could either be around these doctors who brought me back to life, in which I'm very grateful for, but now that I am alive, are ignoring what I'm saying. They're being very careless with what they do. Everything that they're giving me is giving me really fucked up side effects that I don't like. And whenever I voice how I feel, they're ignoring me because they don't feel like I'm qualified to know about my own body. So I chose to leave. My boyfriend, he drove 9 hours to come and see me. He seen a lot of the stuff that was going on and the way that I was being treated, not only by like the doctors and the nurses, but by my family. And it was just not cool. Like, I had spoken to my mom and I was like, hey, I don't really feel like these doctors are even giving a fuck about me. And, you know, she talked me down. She was basically like, you know what, you're going to do what you want to do anyways. Whatever, you just be safe. Like, you're an adult, whatever. She did try to convince me not to leave, but at the end of it, she was like, you know what, you're an adult, whatever. That talked me down enough to where I was not going to leave the hospital. I was like, you know what, I'll just stick it out and hear what they got to say. Even though I had literally lived a life where for a year and a half, I would be running to the doctors for the symptoms that I was having, scary symptoms that I was having. And all they would tell me is, oh, we don't know, but we're going to prescribe you some medications that might work or that might give you more side effects. And it's just like, it was just that constant cycle for a year and a half that I went through before I sat with myself and I was like, I'm going to find my own way, because I'm over it. It's too expensive just to be told they don't fucking know, right? However, I got a second call from my father, and he started the phone call with, "You better not leave that damn hospital." Basically trying to incite fear into me to get me to listen to him. And that was honestly my final straw. After he started out the conversation with that, we argued for a long time. Mind you, within that conversation, it was very much so possible that I could have had another seizure, because of the fact that I knew deep down that my seizures were caused from stress. Clearly, he did not give a fuck, because he argued and argued and argued until my boyfriend took the phone and was like, "Hey, this conversation is not going anywhere. She's not feeling good. Y'all could talk later. This is not it." Me personally, I could never see myself arguing with my child after they just had mad seizures and putting more stress on her. Especially when obviously all she wants to do is get better, and she's recognizing that the people around her are failing her. And I would never try to incite fear into her simply because I don't agree with what she's trying to do. He didn't even have the whole picture. Apparently my mom must have told him something that I was planning on leaving the hospital. Whole time that wasn't true, because she had talked me down enough to where I was going to stay. But that's what I had to deal with. And then I recognized, it's always going to be people who are going to try to stress me, who are going to try to tell me who I should be, how I should go, how I should move about. But especially because of the fact that I can attribute a lot of my stress that I carried to my childhood. I just got to a point where I was like, you know what, it's just not going to happen anymore. I need to take control of my own life in this situation, because nobody is going to stand up for me the way that I'm going to. And it sucks and it's unfortunate, but I did what needed to be done, because nobody in my family has ever healed themselves from an autoimmune disorder like I have. I know what I'm doing, even if it looks like I'm crazy. I know what I'm doing. But that's just a part of being a black sheep who really doesn't talk to people about what goes on in their lives, because of the fact that when they were a child, they were told that they were too sensitive and they needed to just shut up and deal with it. So that's what I do, except I do what's best for me and me only. I don't think about the group. I think about myself. Now, you can call that selfish, but when no one has ever put you first, I call that redemption. So I take everything off. I look at my arms. I'm like, wow, they really bruised me the fuck up. Apparently they couldn't find my vein. My entire arm is covered in bruises. But I take off all like the little stickers, the EKG stuff, and I start walking. I start walking as if everything is normal. I go straight to Sprouts. I get everything herb-wise that I know works for me. And I dedicate myself into rehabilitating my nervous system. That's actually my dog's altar right there. Rehabilitating my nervous system from scratch, no matter what the cost was. And, I still had people trying to stress me out, trying to yell at me and do all just shit that is not conducive to healing. And as someone who has healed themselves from an autoimmune disease before, I know, because of the mind, body, spirit connection, anything can make it worse in regards to if anything pisses you off mentally or emotionally, anything like that. So I was blocking out mad noise, and I was really just enjoying this beautiful time I had with my significant other for the rest of the time that he was there. And I was in a hospital for a few days while being conscious, and the time that I spent out of the hospital was more conducive. I was able to regain more memory than I had the entire time that I was in the hospital, because of that mind, body, spirit connection. Now, when we talk about this book, when we talk about You Are the Placebo, and we talk about becoming supernatural, let's start with You Are the Placebo, right? When you first open the book, You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza, one of the first collections of stories that he has in there is about a man who wanted to get rid of the tumors in his neck. and he was put in a clinical trial where, you know, you might get the water pill, but you might get the actual pill. He got into the trial, he took the pills, his tumors gone. A couple years later, he seen a commercial that was talking about a recall on a specific drug, the drug test that he was a part of, the drug trial that he was a part of. And it frightened him so much that it was a recall, and saying how it caused cancer to where he redeveloped the tumors in his neck. Whole time, he was given the water pill. And he had no idea until way after. And that just goes to show that healing really does start in the mind. It starts in who you allow around you. It starts with who you allow around you. It starts with what you choose to consume. It involves what you choose to believe. What limitations do you place on yourself? What do you believe? Because that will dictate how this is going to go. What do you believe? And I know that it is a very touchy subject, and it's a lot of people going through a lot of different things, but I can only talk about what I've been through. And I am the exception to the rule because I made myself the exception to the rule. You have to truly and utterly believe and persist. And I'm saying this as somebody who is still recovering. I mean, I only had that seizure 2 months ago. I'm telling you as somebody who is now on that same journey once again of healing, and has made tremendous progress where it's like, wow, it's almost miraculous. Whole time I dedicate myself to this shit, bro. I dedicate myself to it. I study the mind, body, spirit connection. I know every time I pour into myself emotionally, every time I heal from a certain trauma, every time that I do shadow work or inner child healing or whatever it may be, every time I do that, I am one step closer to healing this physical symptom of the emotional problem. All because, yes, I am sensitive. I am very sensitive. And the thing is, I'm no more sensitive than anybody else on this earth. It's just that people choose to block that shit out. And guess what? The same people who be blocking that shit out, the same people who be blocking that shit out be having back problems that they don't even know why they have them. Be having liver problems, heart problems, all kinds of problems, acid reflux, all these problems. And they will go to these doctors and they'll be like, oh, we don't know what's wrong, but we'll give you something for your symptom. Keyword is for your symptom, not for the root cause. Because for a lot of people, if you dig deep enough, you will find an emotional tether to your physical problem. Even if it is not the core thing, it is always going to make shit worse. Okay? I would gladly recommend that you go on Dr. Joe Dispenza's page, that you watch his testimonials, that you see how people talk about his retreats and stuff like that. I ain't been in that near retreat. I just used those videos as motivation, and I got to work by myself when I was healing from that autoimmune disease. I did that shit by myself, but it is very much so possible. And a lot of people, they don't get to that place because I won't lie, it really is hard as fuck to regulate your nervous system, especially in a society that banks on your emotional state, your nervous system being fried. They bank on that shit because if you're in a constant mode of survival, bro, you will always be chasing security. You will always be trying to survive, and you can't heal in survival mode because you're literally exhausting all of your internal resources to make sure that you survive. It's not possible. It's either you're healing your nervous system or you're actively exhausting your nervous system's resources to survive. You can't have both. And I won't lie, the amount of pain that I was going through when I had that illness, and having to mentally push past that pain and envision a life where I was no longer dealing with what I was dealing with, bro, that shit was hard. When you have a physical reminder of where your life is and you are trying your best to go to a life where that no longer exists, that shit is hard. But I believed in myself enough, and guess what? One day it worked. one day I started getting better. And the healing wasn't linear. Some days I would go back a few steps, but I kept going forward. And one day, and I guess I'm really just talking about it because I just want people to know that it's real people out here that are healing themselves through healing their mind, that are living amazing lives because they are healing themselves in their mind first. You ain't gotta believe me. You can do the research for yourself. But it was getting on my nerves so bad. I wanted to make this video so bad to where I had no choice but to make this video, because someone's gonna see it and someone's gonna get hope off this shit, and I just want them to know that you got it. But yeah, I escaped that hospital and never came back. And I don't regret anything. Not in this economy. The fuck? Just for you to tell me you don't know what the fuck is going on. I know what the fuck's going on, but you wouldn't listen to me anyway for a plethora of reasons. Like I said, Black woman. Y'all literally teach in y'all books to this day that we experience less pain than other people. Another reason, they kept asking me if I was on drugs. Even though they tested me for drugs and nothing came up, they still kept harassing me about these damn drugs. So here we step into Black woman, but also just regular racism. Okay? And then we step into the mundane. Whole time it's only mundane here. It's not mundane in China. It's not mundane in Bali. It's not mundane in Costa Rica. They put all that shit into consideration. It is holistic healing. Okay? But I guess I'll talk about it more later. I ain't gonna hold y'all up for too long, but if anybody's going through something similar, if anyone is just feeling very hopeless in regards to the situation of where they are in life and their journey towards regulating their nervous system and living a stress-free life and being able to get rid of people or to get away from people who are not good for your nervous system, who dedicate themselves to not understanding you fully and dedicate themselves to arguing down their point because they believe in it so much and not believing in you in the process because you oppose their points or the way that they view things, even though you know deep down in your soul that you are being heart-led and that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. I see you. That's it. That's all. Goodbye.